Can you state your name?
Morris Dean Ververs,
And you are, what is your age?
76.
Okay. And we are in Simla, Colorado, and we're going to do a recording of some information and talk about some past, and have this recording on available online at our catalog so that people can see it in years to come.
Wow.
So, okay. So, what do you want to talk about today? We're going to talk about a couple different topics, but you can offer information on Glen Morris, who is from Simla, Colorado, and you are the caretaker of his estate.
Well, actually, it's kind of an informal situation, but when I was a principal of a Simla, I wanted to put together some information on Glen Morris and have a display. And so Vernon and I and the boys, and this was before Maury was born, we were in Disneyland. And Glen Morris's brother, Jack, lived in San Diego. And Vernon's uncle, we were staying with him, and he loaned us his car, and we drove 80 miles down to San Diego. And we had almost a 10-hour session with Jack Morris. That's Glen's brother. And I still have 6 hours of audio tape of that.
Oh, wow.
And I loaned that to the guy that wrote the Olympic Affair, which is about Laney Riefenstahl and Glen Morris. And but anyway, it tells us a whole bunch of stuff. But he gave me a bunch of medals and a whole bunch of Tarzan marquee that we have downstairs. He gave us that. And he told me, I keep all of this in perpetuity in the memory of Glen Morris. So we had the gold medal in the vault at school for years and years, probably 20 years. And then I went to Colorado Springs and I got pictures of the front and the back of the medal, which is really more impressive than the medal. And they have it on the display.
The display at the school is very impressive.
It is. It's really well done.
Yeah.
I don't know who did that, but they did a good job.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of the story. And then, the other thing was that we were invited to a ceremony up at Colorado State University. The guy Hitler gave all of the gold medal winners a maple seedling.
Well, let's back up just a little bit, because there may be some people that are watching this that don't know who Glen Morris is.
Well, Glen Morris graduated from Simla High School in 1930.
Okay.
And he went to Colorado State University.
And he was a track star while he was here.
He played football, and
so he was kind of an all-around athlete.
Yeah, and not only that, but Glen Morris was the president of the student body while he was there.
Okay.
And he was about ready to graduate. In fact, he may have already graduated. And Harry Hughes was the athletic director and a good friend of Glen's. And they named the football stadium after Harry Hughes. So a lot of history there. And but anyway, this event we had at Colorado State University was a guy, retired college professor, took on himself to have a hobby of getting all of the maple trees, because throughout the world they had died off and got lost and everything. So he took it upon himself to get the genetic composition of the original maple tree.
That was given to the Olympic winners.
Right, and he set about getting them all replaced, and the one at CSU had been lost. I had a picture of it at one time. But anyway, he had this ceremony. He wanted to present the tree to CSU. And we were invited because I guess I am kind of a historian of Glen Morris. And the president, Tony Frank, is the president, or was president of CSU. And after the ceremony was over, he and I were visiting. And I told him, I said, when I was the principal of Simla, I set upon a mission of getting the South College Fieldhouse renamed the Glen Morris Memorial Fieldhouse. And I said, I finally concluded that unless you had $50 million to leave to the university, they weren't going to name any buildings after you. And Tony Frank, the president, thought for a few seconds, and he said, well, I'm not so sure about that. And that started the action. He went to the Board of Trustees And 6 months later, the Board of Trustees voted to rename the South College Fieldhouse the Glen Morris Memorial Fieldhouse.
That's awesome.
So that started it, and then I can't remember if it was before or after when we got a copy or got the gold medal. And then I wanted to give the gold medal to CSU to be kept in their archives in perpetuity. And so I communicated back and forth with the president, and then they organized a presentation award ceremony kind of a thing. And it was in the South College Fieldhouse, and they had cookies with Glen Morris. They really went all out. And South College Fieldhouse has about 1,000 of those little pane windows. Back in those days, that's what they used. And the president said they washed them all, and the president said that's the first time in the history that they've ever washed the windows. But a lot of Glen Morris's family was there. I think Rick and Cindy Gordon were there. Gary and Alice Faye was there. This is another story, but a private that worked under Glen Morris, served under Glen Morris in the war, was there. And there were probably 7,500 people there. And the athletic director made a little speech about Glen Morris and who he was and all of that. And then I made a speech about Glen Morris and what I knew about him. And then at the end of the ceremony, this is all, and I got it on my computer, I presented the gold medal to the president to be kept in their archives in perpetuity, which is where it is right now today.
That's awesome.
But I started to tell you the story about Harry Hughes. Glenn was about to graduate, and Harry said, Glenn, why don't you go to Manhattan, Kansas, and try out for the Olympics? You know, they were going to go to the 36 Olympics. And Glenn hadn't thought about it. He said, well, maybe I'll do that. So he went to Manhattan, Kansas to try out, and he broke the world's record in the decathalon when he tried out. So obviously he made the team.
Right.
And then we've got all of this on video. Have you ever seen that?
I don't think I have.
Impressive. The first part of the video is carrying of the Olympic torch, and a lot of it is historical. And then a lot of footage of Hitler doing this, and Hitler opening up the games. And then I don't think they showed every single event, but most of the events that Glenn did, shot put and the javelin and the hurdles. He was really a good hurdler. And then the final event was a 1,500 meter. And Glenn was, he led the race the whole time. And then somebody was starting to come up on his side, and he saw that and he took off, sprinted. Anyway, he won the gold medal in the Olympic decathlon. And Leni Riefenstahl was a film star that later turned into a film producer. And Hitler hired her to do the propaganda filming for the German government. But she was also filming the Olympics, because that was a Hitler showcase.
Right.
And but anyway, Glenn gets off of the stand getting his gold medal. Oh, we have a picture too of Eva Braun putting a wreath over his head, and they did that back in those days instead of putting the gold medal around their neck.
Oh, okay.
And Glenn gets off of the stand, and Leni was filming things, and they met face to face. And in her memoirs, and we have other sources of this information too, but Leni in her memoirs said that Glen Morris, and they'd never seen each other ever before. They met first time in their lives. And she said, he nearly tore my blouse off in front of 90,000 people. But that led to the Olympic affair, and they had an intimate liaison for 2 weeks before he came back to America.
Wow.
So, and there's the whole book is written about that, the Olympic affair, which wasn't written that long ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And the book is dedicated to me because I was the main source of information for it.
Wow.
And I'll have to show you the book.
Yeah.
But then, let's see, what else about this story? When he came back from the Olympics, he played Tarzan, Tarzan's Revenge. And what I was going to tell you about, they have a Tarzan event, reunion or whatever. Tarzan fans all over the world meet once a year at various places all over the world. You know, Tarzan fans, I guess, are kind of
Yeah, it's
pretty
kind
dedicated.
of a hit thing, yeah.
But anyway, one year, this has been 15 years ago, maybe more, they had the Tarzan ceremony in Fort Collins. So Vern and I went up there with the gold medal, and all of the fans had to get a copy of the gold medal and their picture taken with the gold medal. And but one of the people that was there, he's a principal in Denver, and he had been the private, and they landed on an island somewhere in the South Pacific in the Japanese, and they all got off of this landing barge. Glen was a leader of this; he was lieutenant in the Navy, and they all got off, and they all had gas masks, and Glen couldn't find his, and he was about to go ballistics, and this guy, this principal guy, ran back onto the boat, found his mask, and got it to him. And but anyway, Glen was awarded 5 medals of honor during the war, and it never was said anywhere, but I know that he had post-traumatic stress disorder after the war because he saw a lot of action, and that led to him being on the skids after that, and his life never did amount to very much. He worked as a parking lot attendant and and Tarzan, he only did one movie and that came to an end. But let's see, where was I going with this? And this came from his brother Jack. When Glen was dying, I think he died at age 62 or something like that, but on his deathbed, Glen said, "I should have stayed in Germany with Leni." And in Leni Riefenstahl's memoirs, she said that hardly a day goes by that I don't think about Glen Morris.
Wow.
So it was really
Yeah, that they really
a
could
very
have.
quick liaison and lasted for both of their lifetimes.
Wow.
So that's really the highlights of. But Glen Morris was the first Colorado to win an Olympic gold medal. On the way when they got into New York City, they had a big ticker tape parade of all the athletes, and Glen was the lead star there because the athletes had voted Glen Morris the world's outstanding athlete. Besides winning the decathalon, he got the accolades of all of the other athletes. And then he came back to Colorado, and they had, and I still have the documents, the governor declared a Glen Morris Day, and they didn't have any school. Schools were out, and they had a parade down Broadway Street in Denver, Glen Morris, which was very appropriate because the first person to win an Olympic gold medal for Colorado. And then the governor and he flew to Simla, and they landed north of Simla in a pasture. And the old hotel, that's where they, on the balcony, they made all their speeches, and they had a big barbecue and a big Glen Morris celebration.
Wow.
But one of Glen's good friends from Simla, his name was Moreland, he told people, he said, I don't think very many people here really understand exactly what he did, because the press back in those days was nothing compared to what it is now.
Right, oh yeah.
So people, well, they heard Glen won a gold medal, but they really didn't capture the significance of Hitler and the significance of the 36 Olympics and all of that. So
yeah.
that's pretty it in a nutshell.
That is a very okay. Well, cool. Okay, so Glen Morris, do you know what year he graduated?
1930.
Okay. And so then he went to CU. CSU. And then Olympics. And then Tarzan.
Yeah. World War II.
Okay, all right. So those are some monumental things all in one lifetime.
Yeah, and like I said, he won 5 medals of honor. I don't remember, I've got a list of what they are, but for his action in the war.
That's awesome.
And his the people worked under him, and I found this out from the Tarzan event we had up in Fort Collins, that Glen, when they weren't fighting a war, they were out playing softball and stuff like that. And Glen, an officer, always played softball with his privates, and they respected Glen Morris. But, and so Glen Morris had a lot of pretty impressive accolades. And then, but after the war, it all ended, and that's why I think he had PTSD.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, there's so much that can happen to your brain when you have trauma like that. And it's just, I think they've made some huge waves forward to understand it and to be able to help people. I don't know back then if...
Well, they didn't know hardly anything about that. Yeah, they didn't even call it PTSD. They did at one point start to call it shell shock. And but I know that was PTSD. Yeah, and that can happen and nobody even knows it. Yeah. Because people don't want to say anything. Yeah, I just heard an article on the radio not very long ago that they have a brand new treatment, and I didn't get the name of it, but it's a brand new treatment for veterans and PTSD. It's supposed to be pretty impressive.
Okay. Okay.
And also I've got on my computer a picture of at that event, Vern and I standing in front, both on each side of the big sign, Glen Morris Memorial Field House.
Yeah. So we'll put together a little package and you know, put everything that we have about Glen Morris, because it should happen. There should be a history of him and his contributions, because they weren't small.
Yeah, he won, it's kind of like the Heisman Trophy now, but back in those days they called it the Sullivan Award, and Glenn won that. And but nobody knows what happened to the award. Is kind of a statuesque kind of a thing. And I called or wrote or emailed or somebody the Sullivan Award people. And I told them the circumstances, and they said, well, we could reproduce you one.
Oh, wow.
But I never did do it, but I probably should have.
That would be neat, yeah.
Put that in the school up there. Well, the other thing that I was going to tell you about, this came back, well, this is about January or so, and I get this phone call from a person at Colorado State University. And he said, we are doing, this is CSU's 100th anniversary. And we are doing, for PBS, we're doing a video on Glen Morris. And we want to come to Simla, and we want you to tell them what I'm telling you. And they want pictures of the school and the trophy case and all of the displays. And while I'm talking, they look at all that. But
that was PBS?
Yeah. Well, that was CSU, a guy that was heading an effort, but then COVID hit, and but PBS was going to do the video.
Neat. But did they end up doing it?
COVID hit.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
well, maybe they'll come back and do it.
Well, I'm going to contact them and see if they put that on hold.
Yeah, because that's a neat thing.
Yeah, that would be really
neat thing.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that is. All right, so that's been our first oral history interview. I edited it into two parts, but Mr. Morris Ververs, my wonderful father-in-law, has granted us an interview to talk about Glen Morris, who was a Simla High School graduate, went on to CSU, went on to the 1936 Olympics, gold medal decathalon winner, got a gold medal from Hitler. Just a wonderful, interesting life, and one that we really should be remembering and celebrating, because it started right here in Simla. So that was really nice to get that information, and we took the time to gather and put some pictures in there with it. I hope you guys all like this. Let us have a comment. Let us know what you think. I know that my father-in-law would love to hear your feedback, and we can maybe pass that on to him. We're going to be talking with him again and about Simla and how it was when he was a young teacher here, and just maybe get some more insight into our local area here in Simla, Colorado. I hope you've enjoyed this. Make sure to
excuse me, make sure to subscribe to our channel because you never know when I will trip over my tongue and you guys will be here to see it.